Hey, Tom,
Hey Matt, what's up, man?
what is going on?
Just fighting the good fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I find funny is that we oftentimes are talking about our pregame strategy,
Yeah, yeah.
and then like 5 minutes goes by, and we're like, why are we not recording
What we
this?
should just be recording this. This is exactly where we're
Well,
talking
yeah,
about the thing we're
we
gonna
are
talk about.
already, yeah, we're already doing the show we want to now record, and we've missed some of the best stuff.
We should just hit record like the
Yeah,
second we both get on and
correct.
just see
Right.
what happens.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So anyway, how you been?
I've been pretty good, man. I'm still like this is the like I mentioned the flu last week.
Oh,
I'm still having the lingering bullshit of it, and the chest cough and all that. And physically, I feel much better, but like I haven't hit the gym in a couple of weeks, and that's kind of get me a little
oh man.
nuts.
No, I empathize with you, man. I have made the unfortunate error of late to dedicate more time to a couple projects I'm working on right now,
Yeah.
and as a result, I haven't run in 2 weeks, which is like literally unheard of for me. Like
Hmm.
like so I feel you on that front. I'm like, I gotta get back to doing something.
Just I gotta move.
I gotta move.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have our back door right now, and I had to throw a couple and we're trying to clear out our freezer. So I've been like grilling a lot just to get
Yeah.
stuff out of the freezer. And I have to walk all the way around my house right now to get to the backyard. So I was like, this is great. I'm just going to keep it. This is my exercise for the day, is literally walking around my house.
See how many steps you get in that
Yeah,
path.
totally. Oh, I think I got like almost 3,000 steps
Man,
going back and forth.
you've been in my office before, right?
Ooh.
So I will tell you, I used to have a Fitbit, and I stopped wearing it at some point because between the two rooms, which I mean, what is that hallway? 4 feet wide,
Yeah,
3.5 feet
exactly.
wide.
Yeah.
I had well over 10,000 steps every day I was in clinic, just going between those two rooms.
That's so
Like
funny.
if you know when you had the GPS and you could pull it up on that.
Yeah, it's like just one dot.
It's like one back and forth line.
Yeah, that's really funny. Oh man. So oh well, I'm sorry to hear that, man. This is like the worst, longest case of shit I've ever.
It's just the residual stuff, and it's like these are the things that like when you're 20, you're like, oh, I guess that was rough for a day.
Yeah,
and now it's like, God, what happened?
Yeah. No, I think I'm just too stubborn to really get sick anymore. Like I've been sick for sure.
Yeah.
But I just don't stop. Like, and it's like, actually, I'm not saying it's sane or comfortable, but like, I just kind of put myself in a zone where I'm like, today sucks because I've got a sore throat. I can't breathe.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted, whatever. But and I feel like eventually my body anyway is just like, all right, fine, just go back.
But yeah, I would like normally push through, but it's like if I got to be in front of people,
no, you got.
I'm not passing that on to anybody. So, it was kind of funny because I had joked with a friend, like, look, she's like, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? I'm like, I'm gonna fall the fuck over. Not get up for 4 days. And it's like, wow, I didn't realize I was foreshadowing. I meant I was going to sleep in a little.
Yeah, right. I thought I was going to watch an extra Netflix episode or two.
I was going to bang out the whole Peripheral series. And, and if you want a good series, I got to say, that's a cool sci-fi,
interesting,
time travel-y kind of thing, which is like really well done.
I can barely keep up, man. Somebody told me today to check out the Mars rover.
Well, I put that on, but that's kind of one of the ones that you can kind of let run in the background. It's like it's got some cool imagery, it's got some cool music. It's but I drifted off on that one.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like there's so much content out there.
It is amazing.
It's just like nonstop between book recommendations and podcasts.
Well, and my wife and I banged out Wednesday. The Wednesday Addams series.
Just stop talking right now. We're only on episode 3. It's awesome. I love it.
You're gonna love it.
I can't. I don't know what happens on 4 onward. So just let's
it was pretty well written. I think it's not as goofy as the original series, but there's enough nods to the original series that like, oh yeah, I see where you're going.
No,
with this.
I love it. No, our we've been longtime Addams Family fans. My two pugs were Wednesday and Pugsley.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it definitely is. It's a thing in our house.
And
sure.
Fred Armisen is as Uncle Fester. I don't know if he's shown up yet, but he does a great job. He does a great job.
Yeah, he was in the first episode. I think he hasn't shown back up.
He'll be a little bit more front and center for a little.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right. Well, I'm waiting
one of the later ones. Yeah.
There's not that many episodes, so
it's 8, but it's very.
And I think
well
we're
done.
going on to 4, so we're just
you know, and if you're like me, you're like, we can do one more tonight.
I know, but you know what? We watch old shows with the kids, and we're watching Castle right now, and like they're all in a castle mode right now.
They're
so,
in
like,
the castle. All right.
No, yeah. So like we're kind of like, I mean, we watched that show like 10 years ago or something.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
You know, like that. So anyway,
I gotta say, like another one, and then we'll jump ship.
Yeah.
The animated series Adventure Time.
Oh, that's on my son's list.
It is. So there's seasons that are like, you know, they're 12-minute episodes, but there's seasons that have like 56 episodes, and there's 10 seasons.
Oh, Jesus.
And It is amazing because it like takes the kid as an adolescent, and it's very young and whimsical, and like the kid's an adventurer, and then at the end, like friends are dying and shit. And, like,
oh my God.
There's like a world war, and it's like, oh my God, you know, and you find out that, like, you know, it links back to like the past Earth and all these other weird things. That
seems like pretty heavy.
It is for a child. It gets dark. You're like, oh, so this is post-apocalyptic Earth.
Yeah.
You know, these people never knew those people that were actually humans.
That's crazy.
You know?
Oh my good Lord.
You're BSing about cartoons now.
No, I know, but hey, listen, it's all kind of part of it. It's part of the culture, right? Like, and you know, and it's like, but here's the thing, actually, that sort of is a semi segue in a sense that, like, you know, we all get so passionate about these stories that are being told through these medium, right? You know, and people spend a lot of time consuming that content.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have some downtime, but like, I was watching My Family Tonight, and I was late coming in. I was at a meeting out of the house, and I come in. Yeah. And usually when I'm not here, everybody kind of is like, all right, cool, Dad's not here. We can kind of
do whatever the hell we want. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, because when I'm there, I'm like, no, there's no phones. There's no, like, we're eating together as a family, or we're going to watch a show as a family, or whatever we're doing, but we're in this activity. You know what I mean? Like, and if I see my son, which happens literally every time we watch a show, he'll pull up his phone. It's like a fucking addiction. Like, literally.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, my whole family disappears. Like, everybody's on
crazy.
a computer or something.
Yeah. Phone. Yeah. It's almost a verb in my house. Like, are you zombie phoning? Like, don't, you know? And so I scream at him all the time. So they're like always up my ass about why I'm up their ass about this. And I'm like, so listen, I get in and I see everybody in my family just like zombie phoning.
Turn off. Yeah.
Completely out. Whatever they were doing on that phone, whatever content they were consuming, they were passionate about it to the point where they felt
they tuned everything out. Yeah.
Correct. Could you imagine a world where that same population swapped out 1 minute every half hour of screen time for something that was educational in nature? It doesn't have to be health, like what is my, sort of trigger, right?
Yeah.
But anything that enriched them or moved their brain forward. Just, I'm talking 1 minute out of 30.
You know what's funny? Because you're saying that, and from what we hear, like, TikTok is clearly a Chinese company, right?
Correct.
TikTok in China is mostly educational videos. And that's here it's like, you know, what's goofy, what's funny, what's, you know, people dancing. And I almost feel like that's by design. Like, I feel like Americans wouldn't dive. Like, of course, I'll follow the weird historian that talks about some weird, you know, like, here's a battle that happened. But like, my TikTok does not reflect the average. Well, one, I'm a middle-aged white dude. But like, I'm not the target demo anyway. But two, it does not reflect what most people are watching on there.
Well, I mean,
at least stateside. Yeah.
Those commercials that came out, TikTok taught me. You know, you've seen those commercials?
Yeah.
Fucking genius. Because what did we call it before? YouTube U? You know, like where, you know, you got to figure out how to do anything from drop an engine in a 66 Mustang all the way up to...
And you can literally be that specific when you search.
Right. I mean, literally like any topic you could imagine that more than one human has done.
Yeah.
It's fucking on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Yeah.
And what I thought was remarkable about that commercial, and granted, I'm a marketing guy by trade, but like, they came right out and said it. The one thing YouTube never said one time is YouTube U.
We'll teach you shit.
Know, yeah. Everyone I knew called it YouTube U. Everyone. Like it was like, you know, what do you mean you don't fucking know? Either you didn't know, or either you didn't know, which is atrocious, or you didn't care, which is dumb.
Well, you know, I mean, you know, to have unlimited educational materials at your disposal and not to use it is kind of like a sad thing. I mean, I know we've talked about Coursera and all these apps where you can get college level courses, but like to see it on a video, watching somebody do the thing that you're trying to do. I mean, like, you know, sitting at the foot of a master, right? You know, you're just there going like, oh, wow, that's how you do that.
And you know, what's funny. It's my wife follows this dude on TikTok or Instagram or both. He's probably on all of them.
Probably on all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But he wears a constant glucose meter, and he does a post every day about what his blood sugar does with response to various things.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like one time he did one on a Pop-Tart because his son came home from school, and the school lunch or breakfast or whatever included a Pop-Tart. And he's like, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
It was fucking atrocious. I don't quote me on this, but I think his blood sugar spiked to like 260.
Wow.
It was like crazy.
Wow.
He goes, I've never seen any food
do that.
This. Interestingly, and here's where I start, like, you know, and honestly, I'm not a huge social guy because like, I don't have the patience. It's not about the medium per se.
Yeah.
It's about, I don't have the patience to wade through the muck to get to
what you want. Yeah.
To get to what I want. So it's more of a patience problem for me.
I think if you ended up on TikTok, you'd be surprised within a couple of clicks how well they dialed you in.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, it is crazy. It's like, hey man, you liked this one post on this, so we're going to take a guess and say this is your tribe.
Yeah, maybe. and like, so from a social anthropology standpoint, that's interesting and awesome. And like, I love that. And from like my professional life, that sort of data analysis is very interesting. But I just don't want to waste the amount of time on it. You know what I mean? Like,
I got you because it sucks you in.
It sucks you in, and I know myself, man. I will be the guy who's there for 2 hours. Like,
well, you know, an hour in, you will get a famous TikToker telling you that, like, hey, you need to take a break.
Oh, that's so funny. Is that real?
It is like if you're on it for an hour, somebody will come up and say, hey, we noticed you've been scrolling for a while.
Yeah.
Why not get up and move around a little?
Yeah, time to move the fuck on.
Which, I mean, let's face it, YouTube doesn't do that. Instagram doesn't do that. That's a uniquely TikTok feature.
No, I didn't know that.
And then, of course, you just scroll right past them.
Yeah. You're just like, whoop, fuck this guy.
Yeah, seen that dude before.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, so I think I don't know, it's funny that, like, you know, you and I kind of started having this conversation that we have because we were interested in this topic. We'd spent a lot of time thinking about this on our own.
Yeah.
We kind of said, hey, you know what? Let's use some extra time that we have to dedicate to just having this conversation together.
We're going to have it anyway. Let's
do it, right? So here's what I'm saying. Like, we don't always have to. I mean, you apparently are a TikTokaholic. I didn't realize that, but like,
you know, I think it's become because, like, can't go on Facebook. Why? I'm going to dislike somebody that I thought was okay.
Sure.
It's going to happen. Why? Because you're going to post something that no one asked.
But let me ask you a question. And this goes to the mental health question. Yeah. So it's still on brand for us to it's still fair game for us to talk about.
I think so.
But here's my question to you.
Yeah.
You have this reaction. And I literally just had this conversation with my wife. And my wife it's interesting because we've never been cause people. You know what I mean? Like we're not people that like die on hills, right? Like,
yeah.
But apparently we're becoming that as we get older because now Sarah asked me the other day, would you be friends with so-and-so if they voted for Trump in the next election, if he were to become a candidate?
A candidate.
Yeah, and I was like, well, why wouldn't I? I've known them since I was in fifth grade. I mean, and she's like, because he is an anti-Semite. And I was like, she starts going off, right?
Yeah.
So, and I said, okay, there's two things here. One, you have a very strong opinion about his being or not being an anti-Semite. Now, I don't know Donald Trump personally, and therefore I can't definitively say that I have proof of what he is. I mean, what I do know about him, just anecdotally, is that he's an extremely good actor. So it would not surprise me in any way, shape, or form if a guy like that was, in fact, just putting on a big show.
I think you're giving him too much benefit of the doubt.
Listen,
I believe he's shown his colors since the 80s as a slumlord.
No. But I said, but on the other side, and that's where I was going to end with this, was on the other side, I do think he's a douche, and therefore I don't care about him enough one way or the other. But here's where I don't understand.
Yeah.
What point at what version of reality would I let my emotions about that, in my mind, fact, but my only point was saying that was, it's not a fact that we can put, I don't, it's a fact in my mind that he is a douche.
Yeah.
There are people alive right now breathing oxygen that do not share that opinion. Therefore, it's not a foregone reality. It's just my foregone reality.
I gotcha. I think, and this is some of the, God, we can do a whole fucking episode on the Dunning-Kruger effect and all that. But I feel like, look, he lied to a bunch of people. And on one hand, I feel bad for those people that have bought that hook, line, and sinker. But on the other hand, I'm like, what information do you need that will change your opinion? If it's nothing, you might as well be a fucking religious zealot. And most of you are.
So here's my point, though, right? You're absolutely right, except for one problem. If you're trying to have a conversation with somebody that's convincing them of something, then you're in the wrong conversation.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You're never going to be able to convince something. Like you watch even like an atheist versus a religious person.
Right. Those people are never going to.
Who's going to change their mind? Right.
No, it's entertainment at best.
And you could hit somebody with, look, here's factual. Here's everything we know and don't know about how the universe works.
Yeah, so did you see the Bill Nye and the debate with the creationism guy?
I saw clips of it because I'm like, look, this is just like, there's an expression that I see a lot in leftist circles, which is you don't debate fascism, you smash it. You don't if a group of people want to control everything, you don't talk to them rationally. You don't go, hey man, other people have feelings too, because their response is fuck your feelings.
But but before we get off reservation here, we're
totally off reservation.
Let's stay focused on the question. Right? You get worked up, and you actually, in a way, you're proving the point here, right?
Oh, I'm absolutely worked up.
You get worked up over whatever you get worked up over. But here's my point. This started by you saying you're scrolling through Facebook and you can't do it anymore because you're going to not like somebody you thought was a good guy. Now, look, if I came out and said, "Hey, man, I love fascism," right? Like, you're going to disagree with this. Like, you're not going to be.
I think that kind of a thing is not like, dude, I love sardines on my pizza.
No, I know, but
you know what I'm saying?
If I was pushing fascism in my own circles, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you liked somebody, like, and they're friends with you, and like every other aspect doesn't. Now, I'm not saying, but first of all, let's just, before anyone lights me up for this, let's put an asterisk. Let's put an asterisk next to this here and say that I'm not saying this applies to every situation. I'm saying for things on Facebook, if I am going to, unless somebody's posting something that says like, hey, I just found this new hobby of touching children inappropriately. I'm like all in on it. It's awesome. You should try it. Like, then we have a different conversation to be had, right? Like,
and I would put fascism in that regard where it's going to take away somebody's rights because you believe something.
I see.
That,
so,
and like, let's like, I don't want to fucking talk about Kanye, but like, well, I mean, the second you're like, Hitler wasn't that bad. Motherfucker.
Yeah, but see, but Kanye is actually almost like too far exaggerated to even pull into this conversation.
But rolling with other like known right-wing neo-Nazis.
But here's the thing.
Not that he's rolling with them. They're using
but here
him.
you have a perfect example. And actually, I'm a little ashamed I didn't think of this example. Kanye is a perfect example, right? Yeah. I absolutely, at a DNA level, believe that he is wrong about everything. Pretty much, right? That said, it's easier for me personally to just say, I mean, I already hated the guy. Like, the guy is already useless. Yeah. Like, he's already taking up space unnecessarily. Like, I'm not going to get worked up over Kanye because Kanye is just being Kanye. Like, so he is just that guy.
My problem is people hear him and see him and accept that as socially acceptable behavior.
I don't think that's a true statement in Kanye.
You don't think it is?
No.
Because let me tell you, if a Nazi rally is happening in Florida and one of them gets a bullet in the head, you don't have any more Nazi rallies. Right. When you allow it to keep going, and you have them then getting high fives by cops and shit like that, and that did happen over the last week. That is a scary fucking scenario because now you have the Nazis and you have literal cops that are supposed to protect and serve, although apparently the government ruled they don't actually have to protect or serve.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, there was some federal thing where they actually are they're not obligated to help.
Say what now?
That there was a federal court ruling saying that no, the cops are not obligated to help as part of their role.
So then what are we, what's their paycheck justifying?
Hey, man.
No, I'm just curious. I'm not being snarky.
I mean, that is the question, right? Why do they need military grade equipment if they're not going to help?
Right. Well, if you're under no obligation to help, what are you obligated
What are you actually doing?
Yeah. What are you doing? I'm not being snarky. I'm just curious.
But I mean, that's the big debate. If it says protect and serve on the side of your car, why aren't you doing it?
I mean, at the very least, we got to get some whiteout for those cars, huh? Just take that shit right off. Like, oh man. So hold on. So this actually, just to get back to this real quick. I mean, this will tie into what we were going to talk about.
Yeah. Sometime.
But no, I'm actually glad we took the detour because I mean, it kind of illustrates that what we're trying to talk about here is sort of a broader reaching topic, right? I mean, the core question I think that we started out with was medical ethics, and we're going to get to that right now so we can tell.
Oh, we are? Because we're like ran half this show on Nazis.
Well, but hold on, because it ties right into it. Yeah, totally. But here's how I think it ties in, right? Like, so medical ethics is a question of right and wrong, right?
Yeah.
At its core, right?
At its core, absolutely.
Fascism, to do it or not, is also a question of right or wrong. But the difference between those two things is that, and actually, I don't even know if there's a difference. I don't want to get too far down an acid hole here, but like what is right or wrong? You know, I just read an article the other day that scientists prove that local reality is not actually real, right?
Yeah.
And I was like sitting there going, fuck, seriously? And I mean, what the fuck? And now I've chased down like 10 articles on this now. And
I will sidetrack that whole conversation because I'm like, how do you work in a lab? You figure that out, and then you just go home like nothing happened. Like, at what point are you not like peeling the skin off of your skull going, well, I guess I gotta get out of this. It's not real.
Yeah.
like, you know.
Right. And so like, that's the funny question, right? So like, I mean, so it, you know, let's just take those topics off the table for a second, because obviously we can extend this in any direction. But for 1 second, like, understand that right and wrong is a hyper local
ideology. Yeah.
Like it is an N of one opinion, right? Because like, even though you and I are looking at this, you know, podcast software right now, having this conversation, listening through headphones, etc., what I'm hearing and seeing has no verifiable connection to what you're hearing and seeing.
And not only that, we're only taking in a fraction of the data that's hitting us.
Right. And we can get, that'd be a fun show to do one day, is talk about the
billions of pieces of information we're not picking up.
Right. Yeah. Like there's the whole, you know, Jack did a whole thing on that, right? About like the bits and bytes and processing speeds and stuff. Yeah. It was really cool. And so, yeah. But anyway, you and I can agree that it's improper to kill somebody, right? Like you and I can agree on that, and I think most people would.
right? I think as a blanket statement, that's a fair statement.
But here's where it gets a little interesting, right?
Yeah.
People with sociopathic or psychotic tendencies might not share that opinion. Now we have to ask ourselves, when we say, does everybody agree? Do we imply that it is within a statistical norm range?
A normal neurological and ethical function.
And we certainly can agree to that. And I feel a little weird always putting too fine a point on these things, but I think it's important to like clarify language in this case, because you
sound like Arjuna when you say that.
I know, but we're far too cavalier about the vocabulary.
That sounds like Arjuna too.
Right. When we are sitting here trying to understand or have an educated conversation about something that has specific endpoints, it gets hard to to stand on solid ground when you're using words sort of flagrantly without respect for their definition. And so like, when I hear somebody on Facebook get all bent out of shape and say, oh, I'm going to fucking unfriend this asshole, I'm like, all right, well, let's just peel this onion for a second, shall we?
Yeah.
Like, how long have you known this person? And I'll just use me because I can skip all the fucking asking you stupid questions. But 30 years, give or take. Like, okay. In those 30 years, have you mostly liked this person? Yes. Are they a good person in your opinion? Yes. Are they a morally straight and narrow person? Yes. Are they good parents? Yes. Are they good friends? Yes. Are they a good husband and wife? Yes. Like, great. So why is it that their political affiliation, of which I clearly disagree with?
Yeah.
Like, why would any precipitate of that reality affect my decision to like this person in the asterisk of that normal lane, right? Like, we're not talking about pedophiles or arsonists or murderers. Something that is... or fascists or fucking terrorists.
I'm a little bit better with arsonists. I'm a little lukewarm to arsonists.
Yeah. But you get what I'm saying? Like, in the realm of normal, you know, we could talk about what normal means another day too.
I think I would clarify that when you start exhibiting a behavior pattern, which is in my opinion, right? And once again, that's my opinion. Anti a group of people, anti a you know, and part of my issue is like, they love to say we're free thinkers,
right?
And it's like, no, you're regurgitating.
Yeah, that's almost code word for I'm reading off of a script.
I'm reading off a card. you know,
right.
And I think when it comes out and there's this dual thing where they're so offended by everything that's happening, yet the shit they're saying is like 10,000 times worse, and they don't even say, oh, can you believe this liberal? They were so intolerant. And it's like, motherfucker, like, you quoted Mein Kampf. like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like,
and so, like, I think that it just to keep the ball bouncing here and not to, you know, but if you look at like this sort of like idea of medical ethics and how this conversation sort of really spurred that.
Steer it back, man. Steer it back.
Well, no, but these are all, like, again, it's all the same problem, right? Like, it's different presentations of the same issue, right?
Yeah.
Because medical ethics is about some group, FDA, governments, whatever, because governments can't even agree on medical ethics, right? Like,
that's very true too.
Countries of one to the other. I mean, and we're not talking about like, you know, Guyana to the United States where you're, you know, there's no comparison. I'm talking first world, highly developed nations are like, no, I think you're crazy. No, I think you're crazy. Like, you know, and like having different rules on what ethics are. Yes, we agree. Again, like, we can't, you know, I love these idiots who want to like argue periphery. And I'm like, okay, well, in a non-periphery sense, most nations do agree on most things, like, you know, standard of care.
I would qualify that even more, that the systems may not agree, but certainly the practitioners generally have a similar agreement.
Well, they do agree in the sense that, well, they agree in the sense that they say, like, we're not going to, and I don't know if they call it the Hippocratic Oath in other countries. Or
if from MDs, that's pretty much
so that's a universal thing. So like
Western medical style practitioners,
right? Yes. So that set of rules they can agree on, right? But if you look at like, say, we've talked about cannabis a lot on the show, but like, if you look at cannabis research in Israel, for example, versus the United States, two highly developed,
night day difference, and some of that was once again political, right? The prohibition of cannabis here was very different than, say, the prohibition of cannabis in other countries.
Well, no, exactly. But like, if you look at Israel, they're using like cannabis research every day, and they're advancing
light years ahead.
Totally.
Light years ahead.
And like, they don't, such to the point that they don't even think it's weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even like, ooh, look at what we get to do that nobody else gets to do. They're like, no, this is just what you should be able to do. So my point is that their frames of reference are unique to all of them. So like, when it comes to this idea of medical ethics, one thing that I don't think is evolving is like, what does that mean on a global stage, one, and two, on a hyper evolutionary stage that we're in right now?
Yeah.
Where basically, and I don't think we've talked about this on the show before, but you know how the last 10 years have shown more advancement than the past 100 years put together.
Yeah.
Right. So like, if you look at that lens, can you really say that there's like a standard code of ethics? And I guess now's a good time to like land why this question came up in the first place.
Yeah.
I've got an acquaintance that I know, or a situation I'm intimately familiar with, I should say.
Yeah.
And they are looking to raise a lot of money, like hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And so it's a big ask. And so the reason they want to raise the money is that they have, in essence, cured heart disease. They know they can do it. And the way they can do that is by outwardly or outright replacing your heart with your heart that was grown from your cells, everything, blah, blah, blah. Right. And this is sort of a holy grail of medicine right now. Right. So it's a very exciting story. Right. But the two realities of that story are, well, actually there's kind of three, there's two known realities of this story and one hypothetical reality, which I want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Right. The one is you sell this idea, the IP, to a giant pharma company, which likely makes billions of dollars a year on drugs that only exist if heart disease is still a thing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's
no incentive. It's like selling the rights to an electric car to Ford.
Yeah.
And then Ford hiding it.
So,
you know,
right. Like that is absolutely a fair thought noodle, if you will, of a reality that could exist, right? You could probably they'd probably write you $1 billion check for that idea.
And they'd lose the information.
Right. And it would be deleted from their hard drive 5 minutes after they bought it. And like, that's a fair thing. Now, I'm not saying it would happen, but it's a fair guess, right? The other option is that you basically go out of business trying to get through FDA approval and everything like that, right? And the idea dies on the vine. So what I want to know is this third one. And the third one is, if you were to crowdsource fundraising for what ultimately could be a life-saving procedure, is medical, as it stands currently, medical ethics would prohibit you from doing that kind of thing. Specifically because the high
prioritizing patients that have money over
money would be the determinant factor of if you can get this procedure or not, right?
Honestly, we know enough in this arena that we know plenty of services that you can get if you're willing to pay out of pocket. Right.
Well, it's not just that, but if I wanted to fly to Mexico and get a heart transplant or a kidney transplant,
you probably could.
The list is infinitely smaller, right? Now, it'll cost me, whatever, a couple $100,000 or whatever.
But if you have the ways and means and can do it, you can get it done.
You can get it done. Now, let's talk about the bad part first, right? The bad part is that you very clearly, let's say you did this, right? Let's say you threw it out there on a crowdsourcing thing. There is no doubt in my mind, none whatsoever, that if you did that and you literally said, give us $500,000 and we'll
print you a heart.
And we will print you a heart if you need one at any time in the future. There is no doubt in my mind that a couple dozen people are going to come out of the work right away and be like,
you'll probably have a handful of people buying a few.
Right. Yeah. It'll be
it'll be like, I'm going to make sure everyone in my family has one. Why? I'm worth $1 billion.
Yeah. Because I don't give a shit. That's why.
That kind of money means nothing to me.
It means nothing to me. And so I know that's going to happen. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, somebody is going to be dying, who needs a heart. And they're going to die, who doesn't have $500,000.
Yeah.
Now, from a current state of union medical ethics, that is the exact reason why this is against those rules.
Yeah.
Because that shit is wildly biased and horrible for human evolution. Now, Now here, follow me along with this. And I know you're closer to this world, so I am genuinely curious about this question.
Mm-hmm.
In a rapidly evolving world. Where rules, whoever made those ethics rules, they weren't made recently, right? And I'm sure they're updated annually, and I'm sure
and they're constantly evolving faster and faster. Even when I was on the acupuncture board, it's like, well, what do we do here? That's never happened before.
Right, but
why? It didn't exist 5 years ago.
Yeah. But does that same velocity occur for bigger things outside of like the scope of acupuncture, like for cardiac?
I would definitely say so. Probably more so because
so?
Look, I mean, we all quote a book that's 2,700 years old. To be honest, the research is there. There are new ways to do things, but it's still at the end of the day acupuncture.
Sure, right.
Or East Asian medicine as a whole. So most of the techniques may have a modern take on an ancient thing, but the theory, the practice of it, the way we apply it, I might put a laser over a point now, but I'm still stimulating the point. You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. I get that.
When we're talking about in 4 years having the ability to grow a whole new human heart, when has that been something that we can say with certainty is going to happen in our lifetime?
Well, here's the thing, though, and here's where it's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
Because the easy answer to this is to lift the moral veil and say, look, it's an expensive fucking procedure. We need rich people to make it happen.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if we're clear about our objectives to democratize this to everybody, and we are earnestly aiming in that direction, in my opinion, I think this is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And the reason I think it's a no-brainer isn't because I don't agree that a bunch of rich assholes shouldn't be able to live forever while everybody else dies at a normal pace.
Yeah.
Or prematurely on the lower end of the scale, right? Like, I don't think that's super cool.
It's not super cool, but it's happening now, man.
Well, I know it's happening now, but like, But so, okay, so let's pause that. Let's put a pin in that. Go sideways a couple steps.
Yeah.
It is happening now, but it's happening now on a highly voluntary scale. What these people are trying to propose is that anybody at any time can just print off a new heart when they need one. So anything heart related,
just take out replace the whole thing.
Just replace the fucking heart. Who gives a shit? There's no rejection.
You don't have to fix a valve. You don't have to fix
God, why would you do that? How many fucking connection points are there in a heart? Like a couple dozen? Like, I mean, it's like here and there, it's like connecting the heart, I don't think is that complicated of
I would say it's relatively complicated, but it's not trying to reattach a brain stem back onto a spinal cord.
Well, I'm not saying a lot can't go wrong, but what I'm saying is like they've been doing heart transplants for what, 30 years?
And they've been doing artificial hearts, baboon hearts, everything. So to have something that looks and functions exactly like yours because it's your tissue, you're absolutely right. Rejection's going to go to 0. Success rates are going to go up. And the more it's done, the more routine that procedure becomes, right? So the better they get at it.
Well, the better they get. Yeah, exactly. So here's my question, right? Like when it comes to the world of evaluating these new cutting edge procedures against a medical ethical rule or whatever you want to call it, I don't think we're very well equipped to make this kind of evolutionary leap. Like, I feel like, there's certain things like, they'll change a suture material to be, like, when they went to dissolving sutures, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm sure that was breathtakingly unique for them. Like, fuck, we don't have to like cut somebody open again
to take this out.
Take this out. Like, so like there's certain things like that I'm sure are like great advancements, but by and large, they're just incremental advancements. It's like, this is literally changing the paradigm of the thing itself. Like it doesn't even like it now makes it a new thing altogether.
Well, and if you even expand that even further, if you can do a heart.
Well, no, they already have.
How long until you can do everything else?
No, they already have.
How long
all
until
the
you
other,
get a whole body?
The only thing they can't reproduce is the brain yet.
Yeah. And at some point they'll be able to give you at least the tissue and the structure. Getting the consciousness over is going to be the issue.
Yeah, but so I didn't even plan to go down this road, but So imagine if we have mastery over the data component of our brain, which we are mapping actively and getting better at every time. Imagine if these two things Venn diagram, because like, honestly, like, I mean, I unfortunately, and I say this like, because I'm just infinitely curious about the world, but I don't think we're going to live long enough to see the brain part. And that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for me because like, look, from assuming that the seat I'm sitting in is actually going to come to fruition, which I firmly believe it is.
Yeah.
If I can print off organs,
you're not dying.
I'm not dying. Like there's nothing like, what am I going to do? I can modulate telomere growth, length and retract.
Well, and think about it. You can have brand new blood. Then you could grow whole blood.
Well, that's the thing. Like, where does it end? Right. Like, I mean, I can just keep going. And so the only thing that leaves you open to is brain. And as long as there's an Achilles heel, there is an Achilles heel. And I'm not saying we all have to fight against like walking across the street and getting hit by a bus, right? Like we all have to fight that. Going hang gliding on your vacation to Cancun and fucking getting a crosswind and dying on a cliff, right?
I feel like we're having an upload conversation again.
Well, no, it's not upload, because that would be like, okay, we don't care about the corporeal existence because we
care about the consciousness.
We just care about the consciousness because I can upload a digital facsimile of that. Like, so we're talking about the other side of the coin, right? Like, what if you could stay in, well, I don't even know. Is this real space? Who the fuck knows?
Oh man, you got to watch Peripheral then. I know we were talking about that at the beginning, but you'll fucking love that one.
No, but you know what I mean? If physicists are telling me that this shit isn't real anymore, then what the fuck? Like, but like if I can stay on this plane of existence longer.
Yeah.
And, and I guess if you want to just keep going down that rabbit hole one step further, you could keep on this world and also decide when you want to move over to upload.
Yeah.
And then decide that you have to move back
and just re-downloaded
and just get re-downloaded. You know what I mean? Like there's like, then you open up all these crazy fucking existences where you're like, like it starts to get real fucking science fiction.
Yeah.
Like, but here's the thing though, like we do live in a world where that is science fiction-y, but is it really that science fiction-y? Like, I mean,
is it at arm's length? I feel like we're getting to the point where we can almost touch that.
Well, and here's the thing. What happens in a crass attempt to keep us on topic for one time? Yeah. What happens to ethical? Because like, look, if you get rid of ethics and you Venn diagram it over that level of technological option, shit gets bad real fast. Like
unchecked capitalism that has no ethics is going to destroy everything.
Yeah, no, and
healthcare is going to take a hit too.
It throws us into a giant dumpster fire. Like we don't want that. I think we could all agree there. But I also think that morals, medical ethics as we know it, literally we need to give it a funeral. We need to like Viking pyre that shit out into the river.
I would say it. I think starting over is okay. You don't want to like throw everything out. You have to come at it with the idea that you need to make it as equitable as possible, right? Because it's not like you don't want it to be even, because like if I don't lose a limb, I don't need a limb printed. However,
right, but the whole thing in Upload, just to borrow that again, like the whole bitch in that show was these people who couldn't afford to upload were furious because only rich people got to live forever, and we're kind of talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
But the difference is, and I think I want to be clear on this difference because I think it's the pivot point of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
In Upload, there was very much a have and have not separation, right?
You don't think that exists now? I would say that exists now.
No, because here's what is different. Right now, you and I, if you have a heart disease today and you want to fix it and you are a millionaire, and honestly, I don't even think you need to be a millionaire anymore. I mean, if you were just like a healthy upper middle class dude, you can go down to look. You'd find $100,000 to put your heart.
But isn't that even that the ways and means even at that is classist? You know what I'm saying? That like you still have to. Sure, you still have to have that money.
Hold on, classist, but it's voluntary market. It's a market that only exists to people who can afford it and who are looking for it.
But that's the ethical issue in medicine, right? But how do I do it for this person, but not for somebody that doesn't have the ways and means?
No, I know. But what I'm talking about with the heart thing, right, is it starts out as a classist thing.
Yeah.
But it starts out as a classist thing, acknowledging that and saying,
we need to get to
we're only
this
doing
point.
This because we need to get to a point where we can democratize this, where we can make it for everybody. And the only path, and this is that third reality I was telling you that I wanted to kind of noodle on, is like, if you have a reality that very clearly violates current medical ethical standards in service of a long-term complete leveling of the playing field.
Yeah.
I gotta think that's a worthy conversation to explore.
I would agree with you. It's a worthy conversation. The question is, when that dollar value is hit, how is it enforced? Who is going to say no? Now you give it away.
That's the thing. And I think what you need to do is you need to basically invent a system whereby it's self-policing. Like, for example, like, you know, when you look at,
well, like the patent would expire per se.
Well, maybe the patent, yeah, that's probably one way of doing it. You know,
but like if we think like, oh, now there's generics for drugs in a very similar way. Look, we let the fucking drug companies bleed people for 20 years. Now the patent is expired. You can get a generic and not, you know. But even then, I think that's all bullshit. You know, because like, you know, like I mentioned off air, the insulin thing. But I'm not going to talk about selling it for the original patent for $1 because that was a different time. What I'm going to say is, like, during COVID, all of a sudden a vial of insulin, they dropped the price. And it's like, oh, you did it because people are suffering, but they've been suffering all along.
Sure.
And if you had that ability, all you're doing is gouging.
But here's the thing, though, like if you took this situation that I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
And let's just glass half full this thing for a second and assume that they fulfill their destiny, right? Like they get the money, they go through it, and now you can get a new heart for 20 grand and your insurance company's obviously going to pay for that.
Got to cover it. Yeah.
Because it'll save them billions of dollars on treatment.
In heart medication and surgeries. And
so that basically puts it, anybody with Obamacare up like,
in that arena,
in the affordable range. Now, let's just say they get there, but they did so by selling $500,000 priority waiting list, VIP list access to a bunch of rich people who felt like that was a worthwhile investment.
See, I don't even know if that is an ethics violation in the scenario that you're putting together, right? Because even when we talk about it with drugs, right? So the drug company's argument is, look, I spent billions in R&D. I need to recoup that because we're for profit.
Right.
And that's why we have this time frame before things can go generic. If we're in this thing where I guess you could patent the technology or copyright the procedure or something like that. I don't know that kind of law that well. I'm wondering if, at some point when we see with other things, like, I mean, we see it even in things that are completely elective, like red light panels, right? I mean, at what point do we go, oh, wow, they're so cheap, I'm just going to buy some for home too?
No, but that's my point, right? The difference is that the red light panels, right? Nobody's bitching.
That's not going to make somebody live or die.
Well, it's not going to do that. And nobody's complaining that, like, the panels where I got 2 of them landed from China for $1,200.
Yeah.
Those are $6,000 a piece, on the regular,
the market. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, 12,000 versus 1,200. And, like, by the way, I'm not even sure that's free shipping on those. Like, cause so, like, I mean, I'm like sitting here going, okay, but here's the difference. Those things all exist in the realm of volition, right? Like, I go out and I look for them and I do it. And right now, if I have heart disease as a rich person down to a flat ass broke person and everybody in between, it's a fucking death sentence unless you have unless the drugs work for you or unless you change your lifestyle or whatever. It's a fucking death sentence, though.
Yeah,
it's the biggest. I mean, heart disease kills everybody. There was a joke one time a doctor of mine says, and I go, how you think you're going to die? He goes, heart attack. I'm like, why? He goes, everybody dies of a heart attack. Literally. He's like, and I said, oh, wow. And that's just generally it. Like, I mean, I was watching this one story. They were like, hey, look to your right, look to your left. one of you is dead from heart disease. You know, like, and they were like, everyone's like, no. And they're like, oh yeah, no. One,
yeah. Wasn't there was no punchline.
Yeah, no, one of the three of you is fucking gonna die of heart disease. Like, so when I look at an advancement like that, I say, look, this is not a regular cure. This is the cure.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, we can't really evaluate this through the regular lens because it's not really a regular thing, right? Like, it's not, we didn't just find out a thing that takes the length of a cold from 6 days to 4. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you've radically changed the landscape of healthcare and cardiac medicine,
which is 30 something % of the deaths is from that.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I think I guess my question sort of into the universe right now is like, when you have a set of standards, a set of ethics, a set of whatever, rules, regulations, ethics, they arrive into reality and they're birthed out of necessity to keep everybody safe and sound and sane. Right. And it's, and it make it apply to the world, because we all are in this together, not to overuse a stupid phrase, but like, we're all humans on the same earth. We got to deal with each other. Yeah. It's a thing. And so these rules kind of make it so we all ensure that we're all kind of moving forward. Right. And I get that, but like, we're not in a world, we don't live in a world anymore where evolution is incremental. It is usually logarithmic.
Exponential, yeah.
Exponential. It's massive. Like, you have a bump, it's a fucking bump. Like, what was the thing with the CRISPR? Like, the disease, the diseases that they could fix with CRISPR. I wish I remember the numbers. But it went from like 112 on the first round or something along those lines to like 2,700.
Well, and like, that is still like, talking exponentially. The more we understand DNA and epigenetics, that number changes exponentially as well.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
So now forget about the hearts for a second, right? Let's just say that there's 2,700 ailments of human evolution that can be tinkered with a CRISPR machine.
Yeah.
Well, you can buy that and put it in your basement now. Like,
and there are like, and I would say those are the true biohackers. They're like, fuck you, I'm changing my code.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, I mean, if you've got a dude saying like, I've got a congenital, like, so here's the funny part about the heart thing too, right? Like, question came up, like, you can cure environment induced cardiac ailments, cholesterol, fucking hypertension, stress, yada, yada, right?
Yeah.
It's easy. Fucking snip it out, put in a new one, no big deal. Well, if you were born fucked up, that's a little bit of, that's a what is it?
You would have to,
a horse of different stripes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to edit the gene. So, okay. Yeah. So listen, I'm a big fan. I'm a huge fan of the Venn diagram statement, because all of life is a fucking Venn diagram. You just have to look at it the right way, right? Like, everything.
I'm wondering how easily you could do that too. I don't think at that level, and granted, we're talking about massive amounts of science, but I do think pushing back up Waddington's ladder to get the genetics right in that case, as long as you have somewhat of a heart, I don't think it's that hard.
No, it's not. That's my point.
So
here's the thing. I'm born with a congenital heart defect.
Yeah.
They find it when I'm 20 years old. They give me a 5-year death sentence, right?
Yeah.
And this is all hypothetical, right? Like, but okay, well, I mean, I'll just print off another heart. Worst case scenario, I got to print off a new heart every 20 years.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And maybe my aging body doesn't support it. So maybe it ends up being every 10 years, but average lifespan of 70, 80 years. What do you got? 5, 6 of these surgeries tops in your life? If it really is routine, like it is, like we think it could be.
Put a fucking zipper in.
Yeah, it doesn't fucking matter, right? Now, if I could also CRISPR this,
yeah,
and snip out the part that sucks and put in a better part, maybe it's one and done, right? Like maybe there's nothing else that comes in. Maybe I get a heart replaced and I'm like, you know what? I don't need the fucking dessert every night and the fucking this and the that and whatever. I'm just cutting that out too. And now you never get plaque buildup because you're just like, nope.
Well, or you CRISPR that out of the system too.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many ways to go with this.
So I guess where I'm not optimistic that you and I will live to see it is the fact that like there's a lot of circles that have to be completed to start those Venn diagrams.
And certainly you probably don't want to be the first one with the heart.
Speak for yourself, buddy.
Look, man, listen, Elon's trying to do that fucking brain mesh thing.
If I had a
98% of the baboons have died.
Listen, if I was diagnosed with a terminal illness.
Yeah.
And somebody said, I can let you die.
Shoot the moon or die. Yeah. That's a very different story, though, man.
I get you.
Hey, man, you got a little bit of plaque buildup. You might want to take this medication and get on a fucking exercise bike. That's a different scenario other than, hey, your heart's about to stop.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
One of the news items that we're not going to get to today was a guy in Vegas who had a restaurant that has the remains of a customer who died at the restaurant, like on display, like the cremated remains. And I said, well, that's weird. And it's called like the Heart Attack Cat Grill or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And they have like an 8,000 calorie burger, I think.
And they have like chicks in like nurse cow.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Right. So hold on. Here's the funny part about it though. And what I thought was interesting about it is the guy's response to why he has the remains of this up there. He goes, because it's laughable that Burger King and Wendy's and these things purport that you could eat healthy at those places. That's absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
And my biggest dream is that I wake up one day and show up and there's nobody here eating, because they would realize that it's all fucking going to kill you. And then he ends the interview by saying, eating at my restaurant will 100% kill you.
Wow.
It's like,
but is that brilliant marketing?
No, it's brilliant marketing because he's like a guy who's like, look, I'm telling them the overt truth. Like, this is going to kill you. People who are over 350 pounds with a doctor's note eat for free. Right. And I'm sitting there going, that is absolute fucking gold. It's marketing gold, because like he knows the absolute truth. Nobody is going to change their behavior because they think they're going to die. I don't know why. I don't understand it. I can't explain it, but nobody fucking cares. So like, fucking might as well make a few bucks selling 8,000 calorie burgers to people. If they're going to pay for it. And like, if you could put your kid through college and put a roof over your family's head by a bunch of fucking overweight, unhealthy people eating, you're not telling them to do it. And if you're coming out and saying, hey, you see that urn right there? Yeah, that was Bob. He fucking died in the seat you're sitting in. Because he was 400 pounds and ate here twice a week.
He probably charges a premium for that seat too.
I mean, it's just crazy. But like, it's crazy, but like, he's not bound by ethics. And guess what? He's rewritten what it means to message in that field.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolute truth like that. And yeah, it's crazy.
Like, it's so like, it is funny to me that the reality that food will kill you, that is such a revelation to people and so abstract, such an example of abstract thinking,
because
that people don't believe it.
It's gotta be, it's just gotta be a ridiculous proportion of something that somebody would normally eat thinking this is fine.
Yeah, the burger,
you know what I'm saying?
12 slices of bacon on it or something.
Well, but that's what I'm saying, right? It's like, you eat a bacon cheeseburger every once in a while. You're like, oh, that was great. It's not going to kill me. But then, all right, now that bacon cheeseburger is now the size of a hubcap. Right. Now it's a very different. Like,
well, what do they say? Poison is in the dosage, right? Like,
I mean, like, let's face it, water will kill you if you chug it quick enough.
Yeah, right.
So it's a very interesting thing but like, to your point, and I think the point of all of this, there's no ethics outside of medicine that has those rules.
Right.
This person is not falsely advertising. On the other hand, they're telling you exactly why you shouldn't do it.
Oh no, it's exactly.
It's a craziness.
And like, honestly, I mean, I think that what we need to figure out, and you know, I wish I had the answer for this, because we'd probably have a much more popular show if we did have answers like this. But like, I think I think it's good. I really, really, really would like to know where this goes, because the current rules aren't going to work. Right, we know that.
I think we're going to see that come up even more and more. Right?
Well, no, it's going to be coming up every 5 minutes now.
But like even with, and like, not to get political again, but even this abortion thing, right? These rules in states that changed, the ripple effect, right? IVF clinics have had to deal with a whole bunch of shit. Certain people can't get certain pain medications because they might be considered an aborticant. Right. You know, so all of these ethics have come up because you said we can't do this one thing.
Right. Now, what else? Yeah, exactly. That's interesting.
Now, what else? You know, how else does that affect everything? You know, so granted, we might be able to go, look, we're going to let this happen with the heart, right? We're going to let you sell off the first whatever you need to make your money. And then, you know, you got to make it accessible. Okay, great. Company agrees to it. But what's the next thing behind that? What's the next thing behind that? What's the next thing behind that?
Well, but here's the thing, though. You're still looking at this through the lens of traditional thinking, right? Like, the rightest answer in my book is you don't think about it to the next thing. Like,
because you can't anticipate that next thing.
There's no anticipation of the next thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we do that across the board, though, now.
No, I get it. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, we look at the world like, okay, well, if I make this decision, what about the next guy? And what I'm saying is, like, you need to change that narrative. We made this decision. Now we'll see the next person. Next. Yeah. Like, and like, it's like almost a hard stop. Not that this can't inform that. It probably will.
It has to. Yeah, almost.
But we can't. The newness of each idea is coming so fast that, like, you can't really say anymore what we did yesterday is going to work tomorrow.
Is going to apply now. And I also think it's going to be so radical of a leap that you almost can't not just even anticipate it, but lay out the rudimentary steps.
Right, but imagine if Upload came out tomorrow. There is no fucking template that would prepare us to handle that situation.
No.
Like, I mean, we wouldn't even know what to do with it. It would be like, there's nothing that you could compare it to. Like, there's, you know, and so, okay, well, that's an extreme example. So it's easier to sort of philosophize about why that's a hard thing to come up with. But like what we're talking about here, all this stuff is all kind of the here and now version of what's going to be the story tomorrow, right? Like it's, we're there. And I don't know. I just thought it would, you know, we get wrapped up in a lot of these things, but nothing health related, nothing life extension related, nothing regenerative related, which are two topics you and I are very into.
Yeah.
Neither of those are without the burden of moral overlay, right? Like none of them are, right? And so, and none of them adhere to the current template of morality as it's defined. Like, so like the whole system is a house of cards right now. Like it's such a, you know, we are one discovery away from fucking incinerating the whole list and being like, wow, that just changed.
that almost that Rosetta Stone of health that's going to crack everything open.
But to your point, we're already there, but just in sort of like hidden corners of the world. Like, you know, like you gotta, you know, you got to know where to look. You got to have the money. You got to have the resources. You got to have the connections. Yada. I mean, you're right.
You're not going to get in front of the people doing the thing unless you know the secret password. And
right. It's exactly right. And like that's interesting, but it's not super democratic, right? Like it's not like something that you know, I mean, we're basically talking about that thing in upload where they're like banging on the door of the clinic being like, fuck you. Like, why can't we also upload? Like, that's just messed up. Right. So anyway, all right. Thank you for, you know, we could go on forever, man. I mean, honestly,
you know, it's such a weird position, right? You know, because you look at it through the lens of previous experience, but when you don't have, you know, like the concept is so new and so different that you can't use those rules almost.
No, totally.
Like how you know, how do we get to the point where we can understand and accept this?
And like, I just want to make sure that, like, you know, as we talk about these exciting new technologies, of which, I mean, I could literally talk about this with you for, you know, a day and a half on without a break. Right. But you know, it's real easy to get swept away in the what ifs and the, oh my God, this is so cool. But like, the reality is we do talk from a position of privilege, in the sense that we have the circles that expose us to these things. We have like the means to get it done, right? Whatnot. But that's not a universal truth. And like, you know, there's so many things in the world right now that are creating clear divisions between classes that this is the ultimate one. Like, living or dying is
pretty much it. That is the ultimate class war.
There is no other fucking mountain to climb after that, right? Like, that's kind of it, right? And so, you know, I think with the magnitude of the topic that we're talking about, that sort of class discrepancy gets magnified. And in this case, it's a searing, like, you know,
because at $300 million and a $500,000 a heart, that's only a handful of people.
It's really not that many people, when you consider how many die annually of heart disease.
And you consider how many might need a heart in the next 20 years.
Right.
Yeah, you know, it is crazy.
Yeah, and like, so, you know, I mean, maybe that's not the right idea, but at the same time, I think it's an interesting world that we live in, because, you know, to just beat the Venn diagram to death, you know, the crowdfunding paradigm is another Venn diagram to throw over the top, another circle to throw over that, right? Like, now you're talking about people that aren't institutional investors or accredited investors. These are just regular nudnicks.
Yeah.
You know, so now you've completely cleaved this process out of the grips of pharma, of technology, of venture capital, of everybody, right? Like, I mean, everybody sort of gets cleaved out of it, because it's a by the people, for the people. Now it's by these people for eventually
for these people. Yeah.
You know, like, so it's kind of a different story, but at the same time, like, I mean, you know, if you don't take leaps like that of necessity, like, I don't think you get to your goal.
You get. I think that puts the technology out of bounds.
You know, so
yeah, it's a hard one, man.
So outside of talking about crazy shit here, what are you into these days outside?
You know, man, I've been looking, and I mentioned this off air, but you know, I'm looking to add a cold plunge tub at the office, because apparently cryotherapy is not enough.
Dude, in Florida over Thanksgiving, I went to get a massage at a place I've been to before, and they have a cold dip tank, and it's 60 degrees, I think, which doesn't sound cold.
It's cold,
but it's fucking freezing. Like,
it's cold. It's like, you know, and the
cold.
unit I'm looking to get is supposed to go down to 34.
So here's what I will say. And have you done this, by the way, a lot?
I have. So, and I've done ice baths before too.
So I've done it minimally. So like not zero, but like not a ton either.
Yeah.
I will tell you about, I can do it. I can get into that 60.
Yeah.
But it takes me 3 tries. 1 try, I get in up to my balls. And
I mean, I feel like for men, that's like like when you walk into the ocean.
Right.
That's like the breaking point.
But I make sure to get into my balls for the first time, because if I don't, the balls is like that barrier, right? Like that's the hurdle you got to jump over, right? For guys.
There's a structural change when you hit that level.
Yeah. So step one, I jump in right above my balls, right below my belly button. I stay there for maybe 10 seconds. I bust a boogie. I run into the spa, the steam shower, and I'm doing like yoga, postures. And I'm like, I get hot. I go back. The second time I go in up to like mid chest. Okay.
Yeah.
So now I'm like mostly in, and I stay in there for maybe like 15 seconds. So just a little bit longer, but it's easier to get in that second time. Back to the steam shower, do a couple stretches. So now I'm like super opened up, right? Like I'm like ready to go. And now it's up to my chin and I'm in there for 3 minutes. Yeah. And I can do that, no problem. But I'm going to be completely honest with you. I cannot fucking jump in like that.
Yeah. It is significantly worse than whole body cryotherapy as far as the sensation. And we're talking about a difference. 60 or 50 degrees is kind of like when 50 seems to be like the temperature that people are like, you'll definitely get all the benefits.
Right.
Versus negative, let's say the lowest setting is like negative 180.
Oh, I think I did
Fahrenheit.
160 with you the last time.
No, I think we probably did you at negative 220. That's like the middle setting.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But like you can tell the difference between this, cooled air versus cold wet is.
Yeah. Oh no. Cold wet is worse all day.
Cold
every day.
Wet is, you're walking and it's fluffy snow and it's super sunny out versus you're walking in wet snow. I mean, one of them is just absolutely miserable.
Oh no, dude, listen, the cold anything. I'm not a cold guy. I'm all in on heat. I've got a steam shower. I've got a dry sauna. I've got an infrared sauna. I've got IR panels. I've got a hot tub. Like I'm all in on the heat. The cold,
I think, and this is, great business sense. I'm trying to bring it in January.
Right.
It's like, you meant August, Tom. You meant August. Yeah. No. I'm going to buy it now.
It's funny. My daughter on the way to school last year, I did, I called them cryo walks, and my daughter got like all was into it because she was like, how many minutes are you up to? I'm like, I did 18 yesterday. And so I started out at like 5 minutes, and I would carry my Carhartt next to me, and it's like 20 degrees outside, and I'd walk and I'd go 5 minutes, and man, by 5 minutes, I was like, fucking put this jacket on. Like, I cannot.
I think I got to get back into that because I used to do Qigong every morning outside.
Yeah, you told me that.
And shorts and shoes.
There's no fucking way, bro. Couldn't do it. Nothing.
Honestly, the wind was what killed you.
No.
Like if there was no wind, you were like, it's freezing, but I almost have this thermal barrier around me. The second the wind hits, it kind of like cut into you.
Nope.
Anyway, let's stop talking about this because clearly you're uncomfortable.
No.
What are you into these days?
Well, actually, I would like to when we're done with the DMZ zone here. I would like. It is wintertime. I really do like cold stuff. It's just like I gotta like ease into it. You know what I mean? Like it's like I can't just like. I don't know what my block is. It's just my brain in the way. Like
it totally is.
Yeah,
there's a visceral. Oh my God, it's cutting into my breath and everything. It's
right.
Yeah,
and it's not going to objectively kill you. So like, why are you even worried about it? Right? Like it's not.
Objectively, it shouldn't kill you, but I would say that a cold plunge is more likely to cause a heart attack than the cryo.
Why do you think that though?
I think it's just that much more shocking.
Really?
I infinitely. You're gonna blow cold air on me. I might get uncomfortable after.
I
while,
I get cold in your cryo though. Like I mean,
no, you definitely do. But I'm saying I believe also with the cryo, because it's the air, the cold hits you from the outside, right? When it's wet, you're almost pulling it out of your core.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
The sting is there too.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, cool. Well, I hate to say it, but I'll probably be like one of the first ones to go try
that. We'll have you come on down. We'll record from inside the tub.
Yeah.
Our first 3-minute episode.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly.
What did we talk about? I don't remember.
I don't remember. I blacked out. Yeah.
So I said something about cold.
I actually had a client today tell me that they could record body temperature through a light bulb in a room by person and lay it over a video, and you could literally tie it to a human. And I was like, well, that is fucking cool. So now...
Wait, you mean you could spy on somebody through a light bulb? Is that what you're kind of getting at?
You can... well, I guess the nefarious end to that tunnel is, yes, you could do that. I think the more practical side of it is like, if you look at a post COVID world where, I haven't seen this in a while, but I know that some places, like government places, especially, were taking your temperature to walk in the room. That gets a lot easier.
Room for people with fevers.
That gets a lot easier if you could do that now, doesn't it? Right? Like
you want to talk ethics, man. That's a huge violation for a lot of people there too.
Well, it is, but then it's so along the same lines as what we were talking about, like where does the line between protecting public health and privacy begin? Because if you're looking at the overall societal benefit to stopping disease transmission for sick individuals, if you
keeping them out of areas is pretty important. Yeah.
Picking them out of open space areas and in close proximity is a fucking great way to do that. Yeah. And if I'm the asshole, and let's look at this the other way. If I'm the asshole who knowingly is sick enough to have a fever to go to a fucking public place for any reason whatsoever, you kind of deserve to get picked out of the crowd.
My one caveat would be, like, if it's a financial thing, what if you can't pay to have, somebody deliver groceries?
No, I hear that.
What if you need to go to the pharmacy? It's a rough, like, that's an even deeper divide.
So actually, I should put it was on a government building we were going into, and the government building had a policy, right? So I don't think in the case that I was referencing in my mind anyway, it was not a life or death situation. Like it was more of a, well, I'm here just on a trip, and I don't need to be
here for business that doesn't
I'm here for business that doesn't need to happen right now, right? Like, so I don't have to be here, or go into school, right? Like I even if there's a socioeconomic thing going on there, like
you still don't want the sick kid in the school.
You don't want the sick kid in the school, so like don't send your kid to school. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. You're right. It does open up a separate and parallel universe, but anyway,
the tech is super cool though.
Yeah, and that's what I'm working. That was my story, by the way. That's what I'm working on right now. I'm trying to like wrap my head around that and try to figure out like how we handle that kind of messaging, because to your point, people are going to be sensitive about that, and I want to basically approach it in as empathetical of a way as I could without like without taking the foot off the gas of like, but this is going to happen, right? Like it's like, this is a technology that's coming out, and here's, how we can talk about it. But so that's where my role is in this, but like that technology is here and it's not going away. Right. Like it's
absolutely.
You know what I mean? So anyway, cool, man. As always, thanks for chatting.
Yeah, man.
It's
fun.
We will talk next week.
Soon.
Take care,
man. All right. Take care.
Later.
Bye.
Be subversive, irreverent.
Health is wealth, but you knew that.
Everybody knows that.
But so is following us on social media at Irreverent Health. And check out our website for more exclusive content at irreverenthealth.com.
Oh, I like this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Irreverent Health.